So today I would like to introduce a little bit the work that we are doing in ETSI, in the Zero Touch Network and Service Management Group, with, of course, the intention, if everyone is talking here, about enabling agile digital services delivery and new business opportunities. I managed. Okay, so we all know the whole industry is automating. All major industries are rapidly digitizing and automating their businesses, relying on state-of-the-art cloud platforms and connectivity services. Cloud service providers have demonstrated, and must say impressively, that the digital service with a high level of automation is both technically feasible and also extremely attractive to their own customers. So the customer experience was really redefined by these web scales, which deliver rapid, personalized, on-demand services based on cloud automation. But if we think about this, it is mainly today over the top. So service providers are looking into that, and they want to reinvent themselves as digital service providers. They want to cut the cost and increase the rapid of creation, provisioning, deploying, trial, provisioning, and scale, and also assure services in the same way that it is being done by the web scales with the same experience. And they started with NFV and SDN, but thinking about the transformation that has been done of the network into programmable, software-driven, service-based architecture, this really increased the complexity. So this is one thing that they need to face with and handle. And another thing is that they want to create new business opportunities, and they want to create value, which can be enabled by technology breakthroughs, like we heard before from SA5 about network slicing. They want to provide or propose to their customers a broad array of new digital services and tailor the network to each use case, providing latency per the case, bandwidth, security, etc. And they want to do it in agile and digital way with digital experience. But this imposes unprecedented operational agility, and higher cooperation is needed between the network domains in order to provide it end-to-end. So all of this really requires something new, which is talking about end-to-end automation of network and service management, and this becomes really an urgent need for that. Zero-touch network and service management or automation is essential to deliver services with agility and speed, and it's also needed for economic sustainability. There was a research that was done by Bell Labs Consulting, which indicated actually the relationship between the automation and the TCO. It indicated that as you add NFV and SDN to the network, you actually increase the TCO by 19%. When you go to manual end-to-end network slicing, you get to plus 30% TCO. But if you do that automatically end-to-end with no intervention, you can reduce the TCO by 30%. So definitely we have a motivation to do that. Looking at the industry, there are so many frameworks in the industry today. There is lack of alignment, lack of interoperability, and what we really need to do, and this is an essential need that we need to do, is to move to an environment that leverage the synergy and achieve alignment through convergence on a single end-to-end network and service management architectural framework. And this is what we intend to do in ETSI. We're not going to reinvent the world. A lot of very good work has been done in the industry. We heard about MEF, the orchestration of the services within the domain, across the domain to provide it end-to-end. We heard about 3GPP, which provides in SA5 the ability to manage the 3GPP services, but we need to fit it into a framework, and we will hear about other organizations that should fit into that as well. And we need to see a framework that really help to fit all of this together, converge around an end-to-end architectural framework, and work together in coordinated and consistent way. So a little bit of history about the ZSM group. ZSM was founded in December 2017, and the first meeting was taken January 2018. It was founded by 14 founding members. You can see that there were 5 T1 customers: Deutsche Telekom, Docomo, NTT, Telefonica, and Sprint. All the vendors, major vendors are there: Ericsson, Huawei, Nokia, ZTE, NEC, and all the IT and the technology providers like HP, like IBM, like Intel, and Viavi. And this is just because they were ETSI members. There were also non-ETSI members that joined the group and helped us to set it up. And together we set up the new group with the objective to enable future operational processes and tasks to be achieved automatically end-to-end. And we want to accelerate the definition of end-to-end service management architecture, which span both legacy and virtualized network infrastructure. Virtualization, of course, this is where we're aiming to, but there will be the legacy and there will be physical entities forever. And this was formed under the auspices of ETSI with the intention to leverage the work that has been done in NFV to combine together the IT, the cloud native, and the telco environment, and to push into industry convergence by facilitating collaboration with the relevant open source projects and standardization bodies and fora. And we want to provide a common foundation to enable, because we see so much diverse ecosystem of open source groups, to allow them to produce interoperable solutions. Today, the situation is that we have 65 members, 19 operators, and of course, the good thing about ETSI ISG, that this is a very agile, we're talking about agile. So ETSI ISG Industry Specification Group, this is the agile platform to develop fast technologies and to push for this industry convergence. The idea about an ISG is that it's open to non-ETSI members also, so you may be a member of the group if you're an ETSI member, and if you're not an ETSI member, you can join the group as a participant and help us to develop the specification very, very fast. So what we are working on, so we have started working with the approval of, it's 7 new work items. The first document is about scenarios and requirements which are driven from the scenarios, and this document is already stable. It looked at end-to-end scenarios, and we will hear tomorrow there is a forum, a ZSM forum, and we will hear the details about these scenarios and about the related requirements. The next document is a reference architecture or architectural framework when we believe that all the activities or major activities or key activities in the industry can fit nicely into that. This document is going to be stabilized after the April meeting that is coming in 2 weeks. And then we have a document which is talking about a solution for end-to-end management and orchestration of network slicing. Of course, it leverages available solutions which are being defined, for example, in 3GPP and in other places. We have a document on ZSM landscape. This is more a report in order to understand what related activities are available in industry in order to connect them and leverage them if appropriate. We have another document which is a report about means of automation. We will learn a lot about this also tomorrow in the workshop. And the idea is to present different means that can help us to automate different aspects. How to automate the deployment, how to automate the assurance, how to automate the decision taking, how to automate additional things. And the idea is to ensure that the architecture enable all of these means. In addition, you know, to have a nice technology, it's not enough. You want to trial it, you want to validate it, and you want to learn from it. So we are working also on proof of concept, and that's why we approved the proof of concept very, very early in the process. The idea was really to see more and more POCs which can demonstrate the value, can demonstrate the principles of the automation, different aspects of the automation, to learn from that and to feed information back into the specification work. We already have one approved POC, which was demonstrated in the last Layer 1 to 3 event in The Hague. And we have another one that is about to be approved, but we have already seen that 2 weeks ago in Melbourne. This was driven by Telstra. in other companies, but Telstra was the lead. In addition, we have a document on terminology, which try to harmonize the terms to ensure that we use it consistently in all of our documents. And the last one is the document that we are going to start working on that next month. And this will be the end-to-end cross-domain service orchestration and automation. So it's not only about orchestration, it's about automation, which helping us to self-adapt, self-optimize, self-assure, or whatever. And this is built on a closed loop, which is a feedback-based driven process. All the draft specifications are publicly available, so we don't wait until we publish the document. We want the industry to see what we are doing. We want the industry to provide us feedback that we can leverage and enhance and improve our specifications as we go. So a little bit about the ZSM architecture, and tomorrow there will be a much more detailed presentation. So first of all, the architecture that we are working on is end-to-end. And it is service-based architecture based on the most modern principles of coming from the IT environment. So the architecture is modular, meaning that we don't talk any longer about monolithic system. We're not talking any longer about tight coupling functions. We're talking about modular, self-contained services, loosely coupled, that can be implemented, deployed, and scaled independently. We're talking about extensible, we just mentioned that. We're talking about separation of concerns. So we are looking, if now I see, we're looking in the end-to-end service domain, and we are looking at different domains. And what is the management domain? And the management domain is usually within an operator context. It can be delineated by technological or administrative or any other boundary. When we talk about technological, it can be, for example, this is just examples, we didn't limit that, we are very flexible about what a domain can be. It can be a RAN domain, it can be transport domain, it can be core domain, it can be cloud domain, it can be multiple things, but as I said, this is very flexible, it's not restricted to technological, it can be administrative domains, business domains, and any other domain that can pop up in the future. And the idea is to hide the complexity of the domain from the end-to-end aspect, and we do that by abstraction. And then we have the end-to-end service management domain, which is cross domains, and can set up an end-to-end service and coordinate between, and assure and coordinate between these domains. The architecture is very flexible, so if you think about the digital storefront, which intended to automate the customer and the business management, you can see that it can get services from the end-to-end service management domain, but it can also get services directly from the domain. If we think about a scenario which is talking, for example, about network as a service. So all the flexibility and all the options are available and supported by the architecture. We support open interfaces, model-driven interfaces, and resource abstraction. So it's a lot about abstraction, about simplification of the end-to-end solution. Also, if we talk about this separation of concern, each domain management can evolve independently and separately, and all the complexity of the end-to-end service becomes much simpler because we're talking more about abstraction, we're talking about supporting intent-based interfaces, about declarative what I want to achieve and not about how to achieve that. And we're talking about enablement of adaptive closed-loop management automation, where the automated decision-making mechanism can be bounded by rules and policies. So you can see, and this is a very abstractive and illustrative way to show that we support the closed loop in every different levels that is possible. And by the way, it's not only on the domain-wide scope, even we can have multiple closed loop within a domain and across the domains, and these need to be coordinated in order to provide consistent and coherent solution. So in that case, if we think about what services a domain or end-to-end provides, so for example, it provides I don't see from remote, it provides, for example, domain orchestration, so I want to orchestrate a service within the domain, and then I'm going and controlling a particular resource for that service, and then I have data collection about the resources, for example, in the domain, and then I have some analytic functions that understand different aspects, and then I have intelligence which can help me to see if I need to adapt, I need to optimize or whatever, and this is done in closed loop in a very self manner, without further interaction. Another thing that we had in ZSM is the support of stateless functional components, which means that we separate the data from the application. And that allows us to have fast access to consistent data at the right place at the right time. And this is a key for analytics, and this is key for intelligence. So this is an enabler to provide this closed loop automation. And the other thing is that all of this is designed for failure, so we know how to cope with that. I mentioned a little bit the POC, the motivation here. POC is a multi-party project which include network or service providers, suppliers, university, research centers, open source project, integrators. The only constraint that we have is that the main POC contact point shall be an ETSI member or an ETSI ZSM participant. But except for that, it's open to the whole industry, and the idea is to address the topic that we want to check, we want to see POC, and we want to demonstrate the viability of the technology, and we want to learn from that. So all the results will be channeled into the specification work that we are doing. The working principles, and this is key. Existing specification solutions, both in ETSI and outside ETSI, will be analyzed and used wherever or leverage wherever appropriate. So we're not going to reinvent the wheel, but whatever fitting into that, that will be great. It can be, for example, 3GPP specifications for the domain level of 3GPP, and V specifications for the cloud domain, MEF for the orchestration of cross-domain services, and within the domain, for example, when you talk about Query Ethernet, TMF specifications for the end-to-end automation and the interfaces, APIs towards the digital platform. Just an example, as we can use ONAP in order to implement some of the components, maybe the orchestrator, maybe the controller, maybe the data collection, maybe OSM can be used for that as well. ONAP or OSM may be perceived as a domain management. The ONAP can participate maybe even in the end-to-end. So a lot of that available ideas in the industry can be worked together nicely if they fit nicely into the architectural framework that ZSM provides. So what next? As I said, we will start working on the end-to-end solution level, and for that we will conduct gap analysis to ensure that we can leverage and we are not going to duplicate existing specification. And if there is a gap that, for example, can be filled in a particular organization, we will encourage this organization to fill it, and if there is a gap that still exists, we will fill it in ZSM. A key for the work and a key for the industry, alignment and coordination is key, and synergy is key for the success. If we want to have this automation a key and successful technology. And we believe that this is essential to promote adoption and to align with the ZSM architecture and solution, and this will help to achieve the end-to-end solution that integrate the different solutions that are available in the industry. So what we are doing, it's not only intention any longer, we conduct open dialogue with related organizations and open source projects in order to encourage mutual convergence. So the way that we see that, we look at the industry requirements, the business level requirements, we define, we understand the use cases, we understand the requirements, we develop the architectural framework, we work with open source activities, and we work with industry organizations that develop specifications for particular aspects in order to bring it and to fit it into the work that we are doing. Additional information that you can find in the different links here. First of all, the term of reference of the group, the technology page. We have a lot of blogs. I'm trying to always summarize what happened. So, for example, the last blog was about summarizing what we achieved in 2018. And remember, the first meeting was only January 2018. So I would highly encourage to read the development and the proceedings. I also summarized the last layer 1, 2, 3 events that we have in The Hague. We have the wiki, we have FNQ, we have the list of members you can find there, and there is also an operator white paper which provides some input and insight from the different operators. So that's a little bit about the epilogue in the 10 seconds that left to me, is that I think automation is a big deal. It's not something that will happen. Of course, many aspects of automation are already available. When we talk about complete automation with zero touch, no intervention, whatever, we just embarked in the exciting journey towards that. And we believe that this will help operators to meet their expectation for service agility and for new business opportunities. We are working with high intention to be focused and to provide agile effort to enhance and to expand the breadth of the ecosystem. And one last point, which is very, very important. The IHG is open to non-ETSI members and to ETSI members. I would like to encourage everyone here in the group to join us and help us to ensure that we develop the right technology that can really help to converge the industry and enable the business for that. Thank you.